Good afternoon. We'll start.
Yes, ma'am, we'll start.
So, good afternoon to all. Welcome to the day 3, session 2 of this 1 week capacity building program. Today also we have one of a very well-known person, a faculty, who is not only teaching in India, but also he has a lot of experience of teaching across the country. And as always, the formal introduction is given by my colleague. So I hand over the mic this over to Sujata Gudi for the formal introduction of Dr. Sachin Kamble.
Thank you, madam. Good afternoon, one and all. On behalf of ICSSR and Department of Commerce, University of Mumbai, I welcome you all for the second session of today's webinar. It's my privilege to introduce today's resource person, Dr. Sachin S. Kamble. Today, he is going to cover the topic on measurement and scaling. He is Professor of Digital Transformation at EDHEC Business School, France. He holds a PhD in management, MBA in operations, and bachelor degree in mechanical engineering. In academics, he has been associated with various reputed institutions such as National Institute of Industrial Engineering, Mumbai, Hyderabad Central University, and Karnataka University. Dr. Sachin's teaching and research interests include operations management, supply chain management, big data analysis, Industry 4, and blockchain technology. He has more than 50 authored or co-authored publications in referred international journals and include high impact journals. Dr. Sachin has done 27 consultancy assignments for leading manufacturing organizations that include TNT Logistics Limited, Parle Limited, ACC Limited, and many more. He has also conducted various MDPs for the senior level executives from various companies and banks. He is a highly acknowledged person in the field of research and academics. He is presently the invited member on various advisory boards. He has successfully conducted research methodology workshops using SPSS and other methods sponsored by AICTE. We welcome you, sir, for today's session. I request all the participants to give their questions or to put their questions in chat box. I request all the participants not to post good afternoon and good morning messages. Thank you. So we'll proceed with the program. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Can you highlight my screen? Yeah.
Yes.
That is fine. Okay. Good afternoon, all of you, and welcome to this session on measurement and scaling. So first of all, I would like to ensure that the video is clear and the audio is clear. So if that's clear, then we'll proceed further. So I'm not seeing any messages in the chat box regarding.
No, sir, it will not be there in the chat box. We will answer because sometimes we lock the chat box. Lot of messages come. So
Yeah.
So whatever questions are there, we all co-hosts will address to all the questions of yours also, and whatever other questions are there. So video
That's
is
fine.
Perfect, sir.
Yeah.
Audio little bit louder will be better.
Pardon?
Little bit loud voice will be better.
Yes. That will be eventually coming.
Okay. Audio is perfect.
Okay, fine. Okay, so I just had a look at the schedule given to me on this program, and I found that already there have been sessions conducted on how to formulate the problem, how to formulate the hypothesis, and even like I have seen that how to do the review of literature. That's already been conducted. So with this assumption, now in today's session, we're going to discuss about like how this measurement and scaling is going to be useful and what implication is going to be having on research. So with this, we proceed, and I'll just try to do it in a very simple manner without using any technical jargons, without using much of statistics. I'll just try to make it as a day-to-day orientation, and we'll see to it, like say, how it's going to be more useful. And the main thing, what I feel is that whenever any researcher is going to be listening this type of sessions, it is going to be very important that it boosts the confidence, and then he feels comfortable, and the ultimate outcome what I'm going to look forward is that he should enjoy doing the research. Okay, so I start with measurement and scaling. So purposefully I've used this whiteboard technique. I have not used any predefined or structured PPT presentation, because that will not give me much of flexibility and freedom to share my thought process and views to you. So measurement and scaling basically is nothing but it's going to be an introduction to statistics, and this is the entry point wherein, like, so the statistics for the research is going to be entering into your research process. Okay, so now what happens is that whenever a student has or maybe a researcher has formulated his objectives and hypotheses, the next stage is that he has to go to his survey, right? Because it's required to collect information, and for collecting this information, you will be required to prepare the questionnaire. Now, when it comes to questionnaire, it is going to be a list of questions which has to be linked with your objectives and with your hypothesis. Now, if you want to develop the questionnaire, usually the problem what I see most of the researchers do is that they develop the questionnaire and then they go to the field, they do the survey, they come back and they start thinking, or maybe they start deciding about or searching about what statistics should be used for analyzing that particular data. But that's a wrong approach. That is the approach wherein, like, say, first I'm developing the questionnaire, going to the field, collecting the information, coming back, and then later deciding which test to be used. This is a very, very wrong approach, and this may be acting as a big hurdle, because it might happen that the data, the format what you have collected in, most of the statistical techniques may not be applicable to that particular data set. Okay, so now here the session what I have pitched in is on the objective of training you, or maybe bringing an awareness, like how the statistics knowledge is going to help you to prepare a good questionnaire. And before going to the field, before going for the survey, you in advance are aware about, like, say, which tests are going to be used by you at a later stage. So there's going to be clarity in your minds, like, okay, that for this particular set of objectives is the questions I'm going to use, and this is a test what I'll be using for the analysis purpose. Okay, so now when it comes to, so before we proceed with this measurement and scaling, let me first brief you on some basics of statistics, because this is what is going to help you to understand this topic better. But then when I'm saying basic of statistics is going to be in a non-statistical format. Okay, it's going to be in a non-statistical language. So what I'm going to assume over here is that whoever is attending this FDP, they don't know anything about statistics. So that's the basic assumption what I am going to make, and the assumption will place you, all of you, at a common level, that we are not statisticians, we are just the researchers, and this is going to be the first exposure for all of us towards statistics. And this discussion what we're going to have today is going to be also useful for us in tomorrow's sessions, tomorrow morning session what we're going to have on descriptive statistics and chi-square test. Okay, so here the statistics starts now. So what I can say is this: in next 15-20 minutes, I'm just trying to build the basics for you, wherein, like, say, I can guarantee you are going to start loving statistics. So this is how it is going to go. So when it comes to statistics, we have to first try to understand that when a person is going to develop a questionnaire, what type of questions he can ask to the respondents. So there are 4 types of basic questions. Okay, so it goes like it is: we have a nominal type of question, we have ordinal type of question, we have interval type of question, and then we have a ratio. So here I'm using the terms like type of questions. But if in case if you're going to refer in a textbook on research methodology or any literature, published literature on statistics, these will be referred to as scales. Okay. So, but then I'm trying to just make it simple. There are different types of questions which can be used by the researcher in his questionnaire. Now, it's not that it's new, it is, we have on different occasions, we have come across all these type of questions. My job is now to just try to relate with help of example what this nominal means, what this ordinal means, what this interval means, and then what this ratio scale is going to mean for all of us. Okay. So now let's come to the first one, the nominal scale. Now what happens in a nominal scale is there's some basic questions, some descriptive questions, right? Like for example, what's a gender? So in that case, what happens? The gender, we are going to give some options, right? And these are going to be the text options. So the option 1, I can write it as male. The option 2, I can write it as a female, right? So this is basically a nominal question. Likewise, I can ask a question from which region or from which state or to which state you belong to, right? So what are going to be the options? The options could be like option number 1, it could be Maharashtra, it could be Karnataka, it could be Madhya Pradesh, okay, MP, it could be Rajasthan, and then it could be others. So here, these two questions what I have used, these are the examples of a nominal type of question, or is referred to as a nominal scale. Now, what is that you're going to see in commonality in both of these is that when the respondent is going to be asked about the response, right? So, like for example, I go to a person and he's a male, right? So, if I ask him, okay, give me the response to this particular question, that is, what is your gender? So, the options given to him is male and female. As that respondent is a male, he is going to see where male is written, and then he is going to be accordingly taking that particular option. So we have to keep in mind is that when that respondent is going to take that particular option, it's not this number, this numerical code, which is important. What is important is this text associated with that particular number. Okay, we can say that's the numerical code. Likewise over here, I am from Maharashtra. Okay, so this is a text which is important for me, and accordingly I'm going to tick 1. Okay, if in case I change the order, 1 I make it for female and 2 I make it for male. So in case I approach to a male student, he is not going to tick 1, he is going to tick 2, which is male. Okay, so it's not the number which he is going to refer to and then give his response. It is what? The text which is going to be important. So keep in mind that whenever you're going to come across any type of these questions, it is going to be in the category of a nominal type of question. Okay, so with this, we proceed on to the next level. And the next level is, as mentioned earlier, it is the ordinal scale. Okay, now what is an ordinal scale? Now, when it comes to the literature on scaling, the ordinal scale is going to be referred to as the advanced scale, advanced as compared to the nominal scale. Now, in what case it is going to be advanced as compared to a nominal scale? So let's have a look at this. Okay. Okay, so I ask a passenger by which class of travel, like he's traveling from a railway, okay, so he's traveling from railway, and I want to know in which class a student is traveling. So I go to students and I want to ask the questions to the students, and then over there I'm going to give the options. Now the options is like, say, the ordinary class, we have first class, we have second class, we have third class, okay, and then we have the normal sitting, right? So this is ordinary. When I'm saying it is just the open class, right? So we have the ordinary class, we have the first class, we have the second class, we have the third class, and we have the final one, the sleeper class. Okay, so these are the options. Now, when these questions are like say, when these options are going to be referred at, these options are again just similar to what we had asked in the nominal scale, right? Because the student, depending upon which class of train he has traveled, if he has traveled through the sleeper class, he is going to tick 5. Okay, but then in ordinal, as because this is going to be different from that of a nominal scale, there is going to be a change. Okay, because we have to differentiate between a nominal scale and an ordinal scale. If in this particular order, if it is going to be there, this is nominal, but I can make it an ordinal scale by ordering the options. Okay, so I can order them in ascending or descending order. Like say for example, I start from the lowest class to the highest class. So I say the first option is ordinary class, second option is the sleeper class, third option is the third class, the fourth option is the second class, the fifth option is the first class. Okay, so if you see over here, there is an order. There is a increasing level of comfort according to this particular classes. Now it can be an increasing order, it can be and decreasing. That is, it can be ascending order, it could be descending order. One example, like that, most of us attending this particular FDP would be faculty members, right? So now you're working in your institute, and I want to know about level the present institute. Now, the satisfaction level for that, I want to ask you about the satisfaction. So what I can say is that rate your satisfaction on a scale of 1 to 4. So I'm giving a scale 1, 2, 3, and then 4. Okay, now I have to give the options over there. And if in case the options are haphazard, it becomes a nominal type of question. But if I'm going to arrange it properly, it's going to become an ordinal. So then over here, the options could be like, I am not at all satisfied. Okay, so this could be the option. Or I could be somewhat satisfied. Or I could be just satisfied. Or I could be highly satisfied. Now this could be the possible options. Now maybe it could be also an agreement level from my respondents. Like I ask, I give a statement and I want to know the agreement. The statement is cigarette smoking is injurious to health. Now this is a statement, right? Now I want to know the agreement. So how? So the agreement level could be like, say, it could be highly disagree, it could be disagree, it could be agree, and it could be the fourth one, highly agree. So in this case, okay, I have used a 4-point scale. In this case, I have used again a 4-point scale. Now I could also make it to a 5-point scale. Like say I can add 5. So in that case, I'll be required to add one more option. So here, so this is highly disagree, disagree, and then I can say this is neutral. I am neutral. Okay, and this is agree, and this is highly agree. So in this way, I have made it a 7-point scale. Likewise, sorry, it's a 5-point scale. Likewise, you can make a 7-point scale. So it's up to you. Okay, so in the literature, you'll find that the scales could be a 5-point scale, it could be a 7-point scale, and this example what we have taken. Okay, this is an example of an Likert scale. So a Likert scale is going to be an ordinal scale, and here this is because we have given 5 points, it is referred to as a 5-point Likert scale. Here in this case, it's going to be referred as a 4-point Likert scale. If there are going to be 7 options which I'm going to give, it is going to be referred as 7-point Likert scale. Now this was about the ordinal type of question. Okay, so the earlier was a nominal and this is an ordinal. Now we move on to the next level. Okay, and The next level is much more advanced than this ordinal level, and that level is referred to as I told you before. Okay, so it's an interval scale, or in simple language, it is an interval type of question. Now, interval is an advancement of your ordinal scale. So as what we have learned, we had a nominal scale. Advancement of that was ordinal, wherein we ordered the options of a nominal scale. Now, the interval scale, I'm saying it's an advancement of the ordinal scale. Okay, now in what way is this an advancement of your ordinal scale? So let's have a look at that. So in an interval scale, what I'm going to do is that I am just going to give the range as 1 to 5. Okay, so this 1 is an extreme point, the lower extreme point, and 5 is the higher extreme point. So here I can, if we can take the same example, how much satisfied are you with your present job? Okay, so this is, I will say this extreme 1 stands for not at all satisfied, whereas this extreme 5 stands for highly satisfied. Okay, now where's the difference? Okay, so for that difference, I'll just also write over here the ordinal scale what we had used before. So the ordinal scale was very specific. 1 was not at all satisfied, 2 was somewhat satisfied, 3 was neutral, 4 was satisfied, and 5 was highly satisfied. So this was an example of an ordinal scale, and the same scale, ordinal, this is an ordinal scale OS, and this is now your interval scale. Can you see some difference over there in both of these scales? There is a big difference, there's a huge difference. Okay, and what is the difference? If I use this ordinal scale and if I go to some teacher or my respondent and I ask, give your satisfaction level. So in that case, what options I am offering to him or her, the teacher? He has to take either 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. So these are the only possible options which he can tick. But whereas over here, I have told 1 stands for NAS and I have told 5 stands for HS. Okay. So now on this particular scale, he can give me any response. Okay, now what could be the possible response? Okay, the possible response could be, it could be any numerical value. Okay, it could be any numerical value. Like when he can say it is 1.5, he can say 2, he can say 2.5, he can say 3, 3.5, 3.75, 4, 4.1, 4.6. So in between 1 and 5, he can give me any response. And this is what is referred to as an interval scale. Just a second. Okay, so he can give me any response over here on this particular scale. Now it's like see the difference, okay, between an ordinal scale and a numerical scale. So this is more like your measurement scale. The measurement scale you use, right? Like the food scale or something like that. So this is more now has become as a measurement scale. And here in this particular case, it is not a measurement scale. Here I have mentioned the options like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this is more like how many of them have said 1, how many of them have said 2, how many of them have said 3. So this is going to be more like in counting. Okay, so your ordinal scale is more of counting. Your nominal scale is also counting, like how many male, how many female. But over here, it is not counting, it is a measurement. Okay, but then you see, it's up to you now. You can use an interval scale, or you can also use an ordinal scale. So now in this example, we have seen the satisfaction, right? So the satisfaction can be measured using an ordinal scale. The satisfaction can be also measured using an interval scale. Okay, so now I will move on to the next one. That's the fourth type of scale, and that is referred to as a ratio scale. And then once again, we'll consolidate and we'll summarize all of this scale, and I'll just use some practical examples on how these scales are going to be used by you. Okay, so now we proceed further. So hope this is clear to you. Because it's in a virtual class and you can't communicate to me, but then I'm just assuming that you are understanding and you are able to follow me. Okay, I'll move on to the next one. Okay, so now we are moving on to the next one, the ratio scale. So we have done nominal, we have done ordinal, we have done the interval, and the last scale is your ratio scale. Now see, this is a very interesting scale, because if you read the textbooks on understanding the ratio scale, it will go into some mathematical language, that some numbers wherein you can calculate the ratios, those are going to be classified in the ratio scale and so on. But then I'll just not use those terms. I'll just try to make it very simple for you, for all the researchers. So in simple language, a ratio scale is nothing but whenever you're going to ask a question, okay, and the response is going to be a numerical value, like what is your age? So the important thing over here is that you are not going to give any options to the researcher. You're just going to keep it open. Now, when I ask anyone, what's your age, right? Any person or any respondent. So he has to give me a numerical value, like say 22 years. So this is a ratio scale. Like say siblings, how many brothers and sisters you are, right? So how many numbers? So I'm just keeping it open-ended. So over here, he'll write 4. Okay. So I want to study in a hostel canteen. The number of idlis a student eat in the morning breakfast. Okay. So I prepare a questionnaire in my question, and I go to respondents. I ask the respondent, the student here in this particular case, how many idlis you take for a breakfast. Okay. So I'm just going to write how many idlis. So again over here, he's going to write some number. Okay, if he's not eating any idlis, in that case, 0. So 0 also is a number, and 0 is an absolute value over here. Okay, so this is how your ratio scale is going to be used in your research. Okay, so now I've told you about the nominal scale, I've told you about the ordinal scale, the interval scale, and the ratio scale. Okay, so to just keep in mind, to make it more simple, I'll write on the board, so it will be easy for you to visualize it into and map into your mind. You'll never forget that. Okay, so on this side, I write the nominal and the ordinal. On this side, I'm going to write the other two, which was the interval and the ratio. Okay, so here the first one, nominal. I'm just trying to summarize it, and this is very, very important for you if you have to understand statistics. So this slide, or maybe this is not a slide, but then this sheet is very, very important for you. Just keep in mind the differentiation, the way I'm going to summarize it for you. The nominal, whenever you're going to ask any question in the questionnaire, if that question has options, it could be any number of options. Which place you are coming from, I give you options. Your gender, I give you options. Your income, I give some 3 or 4 options. Okay, so whenever you are going to give any options, okay, wherein the respondent is required to only tick one of the option or 2 options, this is nominal. So the options are the text options. Okay, he is just required to take one option. The response is an option which is in the text format. Now over here, the ordinal, as I told you, It is same. It's just nominal. But then what's the change? The text is arranged in order. The options are going to be arranged in order. Interval, I told you, only the extreme points are going to be told, not at all satisfied, highly satisfied. And then the response here in nominal, in ordinal was a text. In interval, the response the respondent is going to give to us is going to be a numerical value which is anything in between 1 and 5. A ratio in nominal I'm giving option. In ordinal I'm going to give option. In interval also given the option, but then it is different from this both because it is going to be a numerical value, and I'm just going to give the extreme points of this option. In between it's just blank. For ratio, it is an open-ended question, but then yes, this response is also going to be a numerical value. Okay, no options. So if you see over here in these two, the options, as such, there is no option. I'm just guiding them what is 1, what is 5. The response is numerical. Here, no options, the response is numerical. In this both, I'm giving them the text options, the response is a tick on a specific text. Okay, so now what is happening? I'm dealing with the text data in nominal and the ordinal scales. Over here, in the interval and the ratio, I'm dealing with the numerical data. Okay, so what we do for a research purpose, we again try to make it more simple. What we do is that we club the nominal and the ordinal as one category, into one category, and interval and this ratio will club into the other category. So instead of 4 types, now what we're going to do is that we're reducing it to just 2 broad categories. Now what are these categories? Okay, let me come on to those categories. Okay, so the nominal and the ordinal, and over here it is the interval and the ratio. So the 2 broad categories. Here I can call it as non-parametric, and here I will call it as parametric. Is that clear? So I'm using the terms as non-parametric and parametric, and that is because here I'm dealing with the non-parametric data. Non-parametric data means non-numerical data, whereas in this case I'm using numerical data, which is referred to as parametric data. So here these 2 of them are the parametric scales. Now to make it further simple, okay, because we don't want to use much of the statistical language. Okay, so we'll just try to make it more a simple way of doing these things. So what I'll do is that because nominal and ordinal, here I'm going to give the options, the text options, right, in both of these cases. So what I'll say is that instead of saying or calling it as non-parametric, I will call it as categorical data, whereas over here I'm going to call it as, okay, so these terms are not from textbook, it's just coming from my own experience. Okay, so you just don't try to map it with what the terms are going to be used in the textbooks or when you're going to come across. It is just a simple way. It's more like tips for the researchers for you to understand and make it more easy for your research. Okay, so now that was categorical, because here I'm going to deal with parametric or the numerical. I will refer this data as the numerical data. Okay, so it's either categorical or it is the numerical. So understand, in categorical we are going to have two types, nominal and ordinal. In numerical we're going to have two types, interval or ratio. Okay, now you can forget about these terms. So you have to just keep in mind, if in the questions options are given, categorical. If in the questions options are not mentioned, it is numerical. Okay, but then don't confuse this with the qualitative data. These all are quantitative data. Non-parametric as well as parametric is quantitative data. Okay, there is one other category which is referred to as qualitative data. I will tell you about. Okay, I first tell you that so that there is no confusion. So today, when it comes to the measurement and scaling, that's only applicable to the quantitative data. So we're not discussing anything on the qualitative information. But then, to just because we have come up with this particular point, I would like to also highlight to you on the qualitative data, because we are, if we are going to use a questionnaire, it is possible that we may also use qualitative questions, okay, to capture the qualitative information. So how does the qualitative question looks like? So I'll just tell you about that. Okay, so okay. Have you, so there's one question. Okay, so question 1: have you traveled by an electric car? That's the question. Okay, now this is the question: have you traveled by an electric car? What are the possible answers for this? Can you guess? Yes, it could be. Yes, it could be. No. Right? It can't be like I can't say. It is either going to be yes or it is going to be no. Have you traveled by an electric car? Now, what type of question is this? Okay, this is nominal. This is a nominal question because I have given the options and the respondent is going to tick one of the option, and it is again counting. The analysis is more of a counting. How many saying yes? How many saying no? Okay. Now, if yes, I'm putting a condition, and then question number 2: share your experience, and then I just keep it as open ended. Okay, now when I'm going to say share your experience, right? Now earlier also we had used an open ended question like what is your age? Okay, I kept it open ended, but then the respondent, if I'm going to ask him what is your age, he is going to give a number. Whereas in this question, he is going to write text. The experience was not so good. It was the 20 kilometers we drove, but then there was problem with the battery, and the car had a breakdown in the middle of the forest, something like that. Okay, so he is going to write his experience, and this is your qualitative question. So in this discussion, when I'm talking about the measurement and scaling, I am not discussing this type of questions or the analysis. So there's a different story. That's a different field altogether. What we're discussing is only about the quantitative information. Is it clear? Hope it's clear. Okay. We proceed further. Now, why is it important for us to understand this measurement and scaling? Okay, why is it important for us to understand this measurement and scaling? because this is important, because this measurement and scaling is going to help you to select your statistical tools. It is going to guide you to select your statistical tools. I'll just give an example to you. Okay, just a minute. One example over here. Okay, I could just read one chat coming dichotomous state questions. So it's a nominal type of question. Okay, yes or no type of question. Anyway, I'll take all the questions at the end, or whatever the modality is there for that particular process. Let me first cover all these things, the important things first. Why was I? Okay, why is this important for all of us to understand the measurement and scaling? As I told you, it is going to help us to take a call on the statistical tools and techniques. Let's take one simple example, a very basic one. I conduct a survey of 10 customers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 customers. Okay, and the variable is gender. So gender is basically when I want to capture the gender. So what will the question I'll be using? What is a gender? Okay, so option 1 is male, option 2 is female. Okay, so accordingly, these people are going to fill, the customers are going to write it as M or F. Okay, so say it is M, the first, this is my analysis sheet. Okay, so this is the data what I'm going to put it in Excel. And usually what happens is that when I'm going to prepare the master data sheet, I'm not going to usually enter the text. It is easy for me to write the codes what I have used. So I'll just use these codes instead of M and F, male and female. I'll write the codes. So here it is 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 2. Okay, so this is the information what I have captured. Now a person who is new to statistics, he doesn't know much about the basic things of statistics. So this data is given to him. And this is what? This is the gender. And I ask for the analysis from him. Okay. So usually what happens, like whenever I'm going to see the numbers or the codes, the simplest tool what I would be using is your mean and say something like standard deviation or mode or median. But the simplest is the mean. So how do we calculate the mean? So I calculate it like 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, 2, 1, 1, 2. I sum it up. The summation comes to 15. So 15 is the summation. And I divide by total number of respondents. So in this case, 10 customers. So the mean X bar, I am getting it as 15 upon 10. And this is nothing but 1.5. Okay, that's well. The tool is perfect. My answer is also coming. It is 1.5. So as such, I have not got any error. Okay, and I write my result. And the result is saying that the average, what is this variable? Gender. The average gender is 1.5. The average gender is 1.5, but we don't write it in numbers, right? We have to interpret this. So results has to be always interpreted for easy understanding. So for interpretation, I have to go back to my skill, because skill is going to have the information for me to interpret the result. Now here 1 stands for male, 2 stands for female. So where does this 1.5 lies? So it's in between male, it's in between female. So what is the interpretation over here? So it's like he is neither male, neither female, or it is like he is half male, he is half female. So that would be the possible interpretation, right? But then if you see as per the scales, when I see the option is either 1, the option is 2. There is no option called as 1.5. And we know that the mean is always going to be in between 1 and 2 over here in this particular example. So my interpretation is going to be always going to be wrong, because I know discrete 1 means male, discrete 2 means female. I have only 2 options, so I can't do the interpretation. And with mean, if I'm going to do the interpretation, my analysis is going to be totally wrong. It is highlighted in this particular example. Why? Because it's a gender, male and female. If it was like, say, cigarette smoking is injurious to health, 1 and 2. Do you agree with this statement? Yes, and true was no. And I do this analysis on this agreement, and the agreement comes to 1.5. So 1 is yes and 2 is no. 1.5 is in between. So we may escape over here saying that there is no agreement or there is no consensus. It is neutral. It may not come to the notice. It may not be caught by the person interpreting this particular data. Okay, so this is how. So it's like, say, if you go to a doctor, if you have a headache, you have to get a tablet only for the headache. Okay, then only the cure will be fast. So likewise over here, when you're going to use this type of data, any type of data, so it is very clear that the test what you are going to use. In this case, I have used the mean. It has to be linked with the type of data you have collected. Otherwise, it is going to be a disaster for you. It's not like that any data you can run any statistical test. Okay, so this has to be taken care by all of you, all the researchers. We proceed further. So here we have the categorical, and here we have the numerical. Okay, so now, as I told you, for your research, for your survey, for your experiment, whatever it is, right? Because you see, it's not that only if you're going to do the survey, you're going to have the data in these 2 types. Even if you are a scientist, even if you are like, say, working in lab, if you're going to perform the experiments, data is still the data, and it is going to be either in categorical or in numerical only. There is not going to be any other different type of data. So it's not that this data classification or measurement and scaling is only for the survey data. It could be for even the lab or the experiments outcomes. We are classifying this data as the categorical and the numerical. Now, which one to be used by you? Okay, so here is one very tricky question, right? Which one is going to be used by you? The best thing is that, as far as possible, you have to use numerical. Okay, like in numerical, again, we have interval and we have ratio. And here we had the nominal and we have the ordinal. So as I told you, nominal advancement was ordinal. Ordinal advancement was interval. Interval advancement was ratio. So as far as possible, try to use the ratio scales. Like, for example, if I want to know the age, if I want to know the age of the customer, the employees, or whoever the respondent is, right? I can straight away ask him, what is your age? So 36 years. This age can be also asked in a different format. That is, also it can be asked in a categorical format. And how is that going to be? To the ordinal scaling. How? Okay, so option 1, I say less than 20 years. Option 2, so 20 to 30 years. Option 3, 30 to 50 years. Option 4, 50 and above. Right? So if I am 36 years, okay, so where I'm going to lie over here? I'm going to lie over here in the third option. But then I am counted, or my age is counted as not 36 years. My age is counted to be in between 30 to 50 years. Okay, so this is from 30 to 50 years. So which is more accurate? So this is more accurate. Okay, So if you're going to use a ratio scale, that is what is going to be highly accurate. It's basically referred to as point estimate. In statistical language, it is referred to as a point estimate, whereas here in this case, it's going to be an interval estimate. Okay. So now it's clear that as far as possible, ratio, if not ratio, interval, if not interval, ordinal, if not ordinal, you go for nominal. Okay, but then we are talking only in two broad categories. We're talking it is the categorical and in the numerical format. Okay, so now just take one example. So this is going to be decided by the researcher. The researcher has to take a call on this. Okay, so now it depends usually, like say, which type of scale, a numerical scale or a categorical scale. It depends how to be selected, right? And that is usually based on the sensitivity of that question. Okay, the sensitivity of the particular question. Like for example, the example is like say I want to know the age. Okay, and the respondents, all my respondents are the ladies. Okay, the girl respondents. And basically my study is going to be like say something on the consumer behavior of beauty products. Okay, so then the one question what I'm interested in is the age of the respondent. Now what do you feel if in my questionnaire I have a question, what is your age, and I keep it open-ended, and you know that this is for a beauty product, the study is for the beauty product, and you're going to approach a girl, a lady, and you're just asking her, what is your age? It's very sensitive. Yes or no? This is going to be quite a sensitive question, and I doubt on the accuracy of the question, the response, what I would be getting from the respondent. Okay, because it's a very sensitive question for you to ask a girl about their age. So in such situation, because in most of the cases, the chances are that you'll get an under response, in the sense like the age may not be accurate, they may report a lower age, or sometimes it may be just left blank. And if you can't afford to have any missing responses, because for the consumer behavior, age is very, very important for you to perform the analysis. So in that case, there's no point in you going for a numerical type of question. So in that case, which type of question is going to be coming to your rescue? So in that case, I'll be going with the categorical type of question. So here I'm going to give the options, and these options are going to be like the one which I referred earlier. So like say less than 18, 18 to 24, 25 to 30. It all depends on you how much the margin would like to give for these various options. And I can say 30 and above. Okay. So a girl would be more comfortable, not here. She'll be more comfortable to just tick mark, because her age might be 24, but sorry, 23, but she'll be comfortable in ticking this. Right? Her age might be 57. Okay, but then she may not find it difficult to tick this option 4. There's one more possible example. Now, not for a girl, but then it could be for the male. Okay, so I want to know the income. So this could be income of an individual. This could be when you're conducting the study on the different businesses or the organizations. You want to ask the income of that organization or that individual person or the respondent. Now asking anyone straightforward, what is your income? If someone comes and asks me, sir, what's your income? Okay, I'll be not comfortable. There will be suspicious in my mind why this fellow wants to know my income. Okay, so here I'll just write it as annual income. Okay, so to make it more clear. So if my annual income is 1 crore, 1 CR, I may just underreport it as saying 75 lakhs. That's a human tendency, because I don't know how this information is going to be used by the researcher or that person who is asking this particular information. So again over there, the categorical type of question is going to be coming to my rescue. And over here, I am going to write the different options, like it could be less than 5 lakhs, 5 lakhs to whatever, 15 lakhs, 15 to 50, 50 and above. So here I give the options, and accordingly, maybe there's a possibility of underreporting, or there's a possibility of more missing values. Over here, there's no possibility of missing values, but then yes, I am knowing that this is more, this would have been, if I got the actual information, most accurate, whereas here it is just some adjustments, okay, some compromise I'm going to make on the findings of my study, but then I'm comfortable with this type of information. So any sensitive questions or information, okay, that is going to be dealt with your selection between these two type of questions, the numerical and the categorical. So as we discussed, categorical is going to help you to get information to reduce the missing values, and whereas the numerical, as it might be more accurate, but then still you may be having some problems in getting the information, and you have to avoid that by the selection which we are going to take. And this decision, as I told you before, this decision is going to be purely taken by the researcher. Okay, so for that purpose, usually what we do is that we go for a pilot survey. Okay, and depending upon that pilot survey, the field you will get, whether the scales, whether we have used is appropriate or it requires some scaling change. Okay. So this was more about the basics of the scalings. Okay, and as I told you, this is going to help you for your statistics, right? So this was more about the foundation. Now, how to relate this with your research? Now that becomes the prime focus of our discussion. Okay, because understanding is one thing, one part, but then your design and planning, that's the most crucial and the critical part of any research. Because unless until you have designed well, unless until you have planned well, the execution is going to be a failure. Okay, so we now see what care we are required to take so that we have a successful completion and we are not stuck anywhere in between because of the data analysis. So now, earlier you had okay, no, before that, what I'll do is that I'll just write some random type of questions, and I'll ask you to recognize what type of scale was or is that. Okay, so just pay attention over here. The question what I'm asking is, are you, no, I'll just make it in form of an option because it will be not confusing in that case. Your designation in the company. I'm giving the option top management, middle level management, lower level management, supervisory, and then the fifth, the worker. If this is the question, okay, there is no need now for you to tell it's nominal or categorical or interval or, yeah, so I'm getting the answer is nominal. Yes, fine, that's good. Yeah, it's getting the answer as ordinal also, that also is fine, but then that is what I'm trying to say now. There is no need for me to you say whether it is nominal or ordinal or interval or ratio. You can just stick to two categories. Categorical, it will be fast, right? And numerical. Okay, so this question is categorical because I have given the categories, I have listed the categories. So now, you can also say instead of writing full categorical and numerical, you can just write it as C or N. That also is enough. Okay, so your years of experience, your total years of experience, it is numerical. The same question I can make it as categorical if I'm going to give the options 1, 2, 3, 4, less than 5 years, 5 to 10 years, 10 to 15 years, 15 years above. So this becomes categorical, this becomes numerical. Okay, so now it is very, very, very important for you to understand what is a categorical, what is a numerical, and I am very happy if in case you have understood this basic difference between these 4 type of scales reduced to categorical and numerical. Okay, now slowly we are going to, okay, this was a standalone type of exercise what we have done on understanding the variable, it was whether categorical or a numerical. Now let us connect this with your research. Okay, so let's see how this connection is going to be possible. So when I said that initially, right, years of experience, right? Now you know that I can ask it in form of a categorical variable. I can also ask it in a form of a numerical variable. That is up to you, right? It's your choice. But what is the variable here? The variable is years of experience, right? In the previous case, once again, I had asked you about the designation. Now, designation is something which I can only ask as a categorical variable. It can't be asked as a numerical variable, right? It's quite logical. It can be only like say nominal, or it is going to be ordinal. It can't be numerical. I can't say a designation on a scale of 1 to 5. It is not possible. Okay. So this variable over here is, so here these are all the variable. This is variable. Years of experience is variable. Designation is your variable, right? So income is your variable which you would like to study, and that can be again be captured using a categorical or a numerical scale. Likewise, any set of variables, you are going to have a choice. It could be Cn, it could be just C. Sometimes it is possible that it is just N which could be used. It could be C or N, as in this particular case. So now it's very clear that these are the variables which are required to be captured from the field through survey or through experiment, and for that, this is what is going to be useful for me. Okay, so now the next one. I'm connecting it now to your research. In research, I have seen your schedule, and already you have covered 2 aspects of research, and the first one is the objective of the research, and the second aspect was the hypothesis. Okay, so now let me randomly write. I'm getting some chat questions, but then I'll take it later. I would be happy if I would be answering it.
Sir, chat questions we are going to take at the end. Okay.
Okay. Done.
At the end, one person is there. She will read out all the questions and you will be answering.
Okay, so maybe in another. Okay, I'll take it forward. Don't worry. Anyway, maybe most of them are sitting in home only. So
no, sir, it's going on very nice.
Pardon?
It is going on very good.
Okay, thank you. Where was I? Okay, objective. So let me write some sample objective of your study. Okay, so now, okay, now everywhere we have this COVID-19, and it's only because COVID-19 is there we are here interacting in a virtual mode. Otherwise, I would have been over there in University of Mumbai interacting with all of you one-to-one. Okay, now fine. Objective. I'll take something related to COVID-19. So, what should it be? Okay, during this pandemic, okay, there's some researcher who is doing a research on this pandemic, and his interest is to study the impact of this COVID-19 on the air passengers, the passengers traveling by air. Okay, and he wants to know like what is more important for them. It is the price of the ticket, or is it the schedule? Because we see that there's a lot of cancellations happening. Okay, and it could be the okay, I said it is the charge. I'll write it over here. Okay, then it is the schedule. Schedule in the sense like availability of the flights, more number of flights. Third is the on-time performance. You should not get delayed and all. The fourth is like they should get the meals in the flight. Okay. The fifth is safety. Okay, and the sixth is so safety is basically I'm taking it as a factor which is going to take care about using the mask and all those precautions while the traveling. Okay, we'll just restrict it to these 5 points. Okay, so here it is a ticket fare, the schedule, the on-time performance, the meals, and the safety. Okay, so this is what I come to know, these factors. Okay, how did I come to know about these factors? These factors I have come to know based on my reading. Okay, reading of the articles in the newspaper, the airline trade magazines, or the journals, and some publications. Okay, so this reading, it could be through the journals, it could be from the secondary sources, it could be from different sources. So this is basically something, a literature review, what I have done. Okay, through different sources. So once I have done the literature review, I have identified this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 factors. Okay, now my research, the first objective says that I want to know which out of these are important or the most significant factor. Okay, so this is what I want to study. So what would be the possible objective over here? To evaluate or to analyze the most significant factors while traveling by air. Right? So these are the factors which I already know in advance. So this is my objective, to evaluate the most significant factors by traveling by air. Okay, and these are the factors. Now, when I'm saying that these are the factors, it means that I am required to take the response on these factors from the respondents. Yes or no? Okay, because I want to know which out of these 5 are the most significant. From where I come to know these 5? From the literature review. Okay, now but then this literature review was not specific for Mumbai or not specific for India. This has come from different sources, maybe some domestic sources, it could be from the international sources, from European travel, from American travel. So they would be studies done in Dhaka, maybe some studies done in Kuwait, or some study done in USA, some study done in France or Italy, or so from all those studies, I have identified these factors. It could be not just these 5 factors. Okay, it could be 10 factors, 15 factors. Now I want to know which out of these 5 is the most significant. Okay, so now these are the variables. These are my variables corresponding to this objective 1. These are my variables corresponding to objective 1. And on these variables, I'll be required to go for the survey and collect the information. Right? On the variable 1, ticket fare. Okay, now your knowledge that whatever the discussion we had before, whether it is categorical or numerical, that is going to be used over here. Okay, now the choice is with you. You can make it categorical, you can make it numerical. Now, what could be possible categorical type of analysis or scale? It's going to be your ordinal. So the question what you're going to ask is, how much important is ticket fare for you for traveling during the COVID-19 times scenario? Okay, in traveling during COVID-19 scenario. If I'm going to make it categorical, option 1, not at all important. Option 2, somewhat important. Option 3, important. Option 4, very, very important. So this is how we can make it categorical. I can make it also numerical, and for that I have to just give the extremes 1, 2, 4, where 1 stands for not at all important and 4 stands for very, very important. So this is how the choice, as I told you. And as I told you again, between categorical and numerical, if you have a choice, go with numerical. And why is that I should go with numerical is because once you're going to use a numerical scale, you have a lot of options from statistics that you can use to apply to analyze the numerical data or the scale. Whereas when you're going to use categorical data, the statistical options in terms of the tools and techniques available to you are going to be very, very limited. Okay. So this is how I am going to, for all these variables. So each and every variable, for each and every variable, you will be required to have a scale. For each and every variable, you will be required to have a scale. Okay. You can also make it in a different format. You can ask directly, out of these 5 options, okay, rank them based on the importance. So someone will say me, so I'll give the ranks. The respondent will give the rank 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But the ranking also is an ordinal, that's categorical. That is, ranking also becomes a categorical scale because just I'm ranking it, I'm making the counts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is maximum the ranks I can have. I can't have rank number 1.2, rank number 1.3, something like that. Okay, so this is how the variables are going to come into play, and for each of the variables you will be required to have at least one scale. Okay, it has to be measured. So every variable has to be measured, and therefore we have to have a measurement scale for each and every variable. Now that was about your first objective. Okay, now there's some hypothesis also. Okay, now the hypothesis says that female are more concerned about safety as compared to male. The question is, the hypothesis clear? I'll just write it over here. Female are more concerned about safety as compared to male. This is an hypothesis. See, it could be an hypothesis, it could be an objective. Okay, but the main point when I'm going to do the scaling, okay, is to identify the variables involved in that objective or the hypothesis. In the first case, where is the variable? To evaluate the most significant factors while traveling by air. So it's just not one variable. I'm talking about a list of variables. How do you come to know about that? Factors. So there are 5 variables, particular objective. Okay. Now, can anyone tell me how many variables we have in this hypothesis? How many variables we have? Okay. Anyway, sorry, I forgot that I'll be not getting responses from you. But then, yes, if you see the variables, safety is one variable. That's the first variable. The second variable is coming from these options. These are not variables, these are the options. So male and female. These are the options given for what question? These are the options given for gender, right? So gender is my variable. Gender is my variable. The measurement scale I'm going to use is categorical, and I'm going to give the option 1 as male and 2 as female. So in this question we have two variables. The variables are gender and safety, and therefore you will find that this hypothesis can be also written as safety is dependent on gender, or I can say safety varies across gender. So this is my variable number 1, this is my variable number 2. So I have two variables in this particular question. Okay, so this is what is very, very important, and accordingly this is going to guide your measurement scaling. Okay, so now I will come on to the conclusion of measurement and scaling. Okay, and this conclusion is what is going to be very interesting for you. It is very, very, very interesting for you. Okay, because this is linked with all of your statistical analysis. Okay, so now as I told you, variables, and any analysis is going to be done on the variables. Any analysis is going to be done on the variables. Okay, and the type of analysis going to be used is dependent on the type of variable, categorical or numerical. So let's say, for example, so I'm just writing, I'm developing a sheet for you, so which can be used for you for reference. So I can say type of variable, and I'll say statistical test. Okay, so type of variable. So now you know that there are going to be only two types of variables, right? It could be the categorical or numerical. So say I have a categorical variable. Okay, like example, gender, male and female. Okay, so for that I have already given you an example, right? That for male and female I can't apply means. I can't use the means because the data is categorical, and categorical means what? Only counting. Okay, so categorical is only counting. So what are the counting tools? Frequency. So when the data is categorical, I can calculate its frequency. So frequency is nothing but how many, so like say out of 50, how many male, how many female. Okay, I can calculate the median, I can calculate the mode. So median and mode are positional averages. Okay, so that can be calculated. For example, mode means what? So let's say out of 50, if 30 of them are female and 20 of them are male, so which is the highest frequency? The female. So female becomes the mode of that particular distribution. Now second case could be when the data is numerical. When the data is numerical, straight away go for mean and standard deviation. This is when the data is numerical. Like say for example, the age. Age was a numerical data scale, right? Just the ratio, the numerical. So what's the age? 28. The other customer says 30. The other customer says, okay, so I have 28, 30, 45, 56, 70, 80, 19, 26, 32. So all this is there with me. I can calculate the age, and also because the numbers are deviated, like someone is 71, someone is 18, someone is 19. So no doubt I'm going to have a mean, but then also I'd like to have a measure which is going to capture the deviation from the youngest and from the oldest. So always it's going to be better if you are going to have mean along with standard deviation along with the mean. So it has to be always like a combo offer. Don't just go with the mean values. Okay. I can substantiate this point by one more example. Like say there are two groups. Okay, there are two groups. One is like say the residents of Mumbai, and the other is the residents of Delhi. So I have two samples, right? And I calculate I give them a statement. Cigarette smoking is injurious to health, and they have to agree it on a scale of 1 to 5, and this becomes a numerical scale. Okay, both of these groups, I calculate the mean value. So here for the Delhi group, the mean value comes to be 4.2, and the Mumbai group also it comes to be almost 4.2, like say 4.19, just nearer to 4.2. Delhi is exactly 4.2, and Mumbai is just 4.19, very close to 4.2. So now what is the inference? So are you going to say the people from Delhi and Mumbai, they have equal response? Okay, that is going to be misleading if you're just going to go with the mean. So you have to also calculate the standard deviation. Now for the Delhi, the standard deviation might be 1.38, and for Mumbai, it might be just 0.28. 1.38 Delhi, and in Mumbai 0.28. So what does this mean? So Mumbai, it is just 0.28. It means that there's a lot of consensus around 4.2. Like the respondents, when they have given the responses, okay, the response was more around 4.2, like 4.18, 4.22. So the deviation was less, it was just 0.28. Whereas in Delhi, the deviation is 1.28 on a scale of 1 to 5, which means that, okay, someone said 2, someone said 3.2, someone said 4.8. There was a lot of deviation within this particular group. So there are two groups. If you just go with the mean values, it could be misleading. Therefore, it should be also always a habit of calculating the standard deviation. And that's going to be very, very useful for you for your inference. Okay, now what's the other possibility? The other possibility is that I can have a combination of categorical and numerical. For example, gender. You know what is gender now? Gender is categorical. And numerical, I'll take safety on a scale of 1 to 5. This is not at all important. This is highly important. So when gender is categorical, I have two options, right? One is for male and two is for female. So now what is that I'm trying to establish over here? I'm trying to establish that the safety varies across gender, or safety is dependent on the gender. Okay, so now which test I have to use? So if you see the gender, it is categorical. How many groups it has? It has two groups. Gender has two groups. Categorical variable, so it's not gender, it's the categorical variable has two groups, and I have to study its interaction with the numerical variable. The test what I am going to use is two sample t-test. Okay, now my study also wants to analyze age effect. Okay, age, and age is in this case categorical. So less than 20 years, 20 to 25 years, sorry, 35 years, 35 and above. The same example as was for the gender and the safety, but now I've changed the categorical variable to age, but then the number of groups I have increased. And increased to how many? 3. That is, it is more than 2. So in such situation, the two sample t-test will not work. Okay, so there are two cases. So here I'll just say this is two groups, and this is again we have one situation numerical. But here I have this is more than 2 groups. Okay, I have to use, you must have heard about this tool, analysis of variance. So analysis of variance will study the variation in the numerical variable across more than 2 groups. Then the next one, what is the other possibility? The other possibility could be categorical and categorical. Okay, so you take any 2 categorical variables. Like say I'll take gender. The options are male and female. So there is no limit on the options over here, the tool I'm talking about. And you have to take one more categorical variable. So say this is for the teachers, right? A male teacher and a female teacher, and satisfaction with the job. The condition is that both have to be categorical. So the satisfaction also has to be categorical. So here I am again use highly satisfied, satisfied, somewhat satisfied, not at all satisfied. So if you see, both are categorical. So when both the variables you want to analyze are categorical, in that case, the test I am going to use is chi-square. Okay. And this is what tomorrow we are seeing using SPSS, how this chi-square test is going to be used. And maybe we can cover most of this test because it's 1.5 hours. And by now I'm visualizing, or maybe I'm believing that if you have understood this session, no one can stop you performing statistics. Statistics is only this much. There's nothing more in statistics. Okay. And tomorrow, when I'm going to talk about SPSS for this chi-square and some basic analysis, you will see statistics is just an interesting way, and it's only understanding this particular type of scaling and which test to be used when. Well, these are the only possibilities the researcher would be coming. The last one is remaining. The last one is interaction between 2 variables which are numerical. Okay, so any example of 2 numerical variables? So examples between 2 numerical variables. Okay, so say I'm using age as a numerical variable. Like I'm just asking what is your age, straightforward. It's a numerical value. Okay, and the other numerical variable what I would be using could be the salary. Okay, just an example. Salary, again I'm going to make it open-ended. What is your salary? So age and salary, both are numerical. We are going to do the analysis. Okay, and which tool over here? Both are numerical. Okay, is salary dependent on age? Both are numerical. I'm asking on a ratio scale. So the most popular regression and correlation would be used for analyzing numerical interactions between 2 numerical values. Okay, so this is what the researcher would be coming across. Apart from this, there is no other situation which you would be coming across. And as a researcher, if you are thorough with these 1, 2, 3, 4, only just 4, right? This is in any way you know, right? So just 1, 2, 3, 4, and some statistical validity test like say Cronbach alpha and maybe the composite scale reliability and some few, right? Like factor analysis, EFA, exploratory factor analysis. That is more than enough for a researcher to survive anywhere in the world. Okay, so no one is going to stop him. With this, I have established a link with your research, and please explain regression analysis. Okay, I'll take this tomorrow. Okay, in tomorrow morning's class, I'll take it because tomorrow is 1.5 hour session, and I've been done only one chi-square. So tomorrow, if we have time, 1.5 hours, I'll just try to cover the maximum number of tests from this. Okay, At least this 1, 2, 3, 4 we'll try to cover tomorrow, depending upon the availability of time. But then first the priority would be for the chi-square, because that is what has been assigned for me for the discussion. Okay, which measurement scale is to be used for factor analysis? For factor analysis, the measurement scale has to be numerical. Okay, the scale. We can also do the fact. Okay, we can also do the factor analysis. Okay, if time permits. Okay, so then that's it from me. It's 5:04, and just get a little water for me. Okay, anyway, you already have the recording for this, so I can clean this.
We have recording also, and we have also gone live, so that link also will be available to all of them.
Okay, so this is my personal Sachin Nitie NITIE06@gmail.com. So this is my personal ID. So if at all, if you are having more questions on your research or analysis or whatever it is, you can always contact me. I'm always approachable and available to you. Okay. So maybe we can take the questions if there's some questions.
Yes, sir. We will take the questions now. But before that, I'd like to thank you, sir. And formal vote of thanks will be given by my colleague. But
Okay.
I would like to say a few words for you, sir. After 2.5 months, I am feeling that the lockdown has been eased, and I'm actually attending a face-to-face class.
Thank you.
Months we have conducted so many webinars and we have taken so many sessions, but it was all through PowerPoint and just like a normal.
Actually, when yesterday, PowerPoint would not be effective because there's a lot of flexibility required. We can't bring more of examples, and then as we show it on the board, that visual gets mapped into the mind. That is very important.
Yes,
Okay.
sir, I can see that. And now, since my subject is accountancy and tax, I feel this feeling which we can give to the students for a subject like tax, I think is not as effective as which we can give it for the PowerPoint through PowerPoint slides. So it was overall an extraordinarily wonderful session. And since the vote of thanks response is on my colleague, I will request her to propose the formal vote of thanks after taking the questions which are there in the chat box. Sujata?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Yes.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, Sujata.
Sir, questions. We'll move to questions. Can you please tell which area of research we can apply these scales? I mean, these scales can be applied in which area of research?
I told you these scales are not exact. Like it's not only for social sciences. If you have paid attention, I have also made a comment during my discussion or the presentation is that this is just the type of variables. And this is just not for the social sciences or for commerce or for survey-based studies. This is used by all of them. Like say even, for example, there's an engineer, right? An engineering faculty, and he is developing a machine, an engine. Okay. Now, what are the variables for measuring the success or the efficiency of an engine? It is the mileage. Okay, so he is going to run the engine at different parameters with different parameters. Like he is going to change the temperature, he is going to change the pressure, he is going to change the speed of that engine, and then he will see the effect on the mileage or the efficiency of that. That is how the efficiency of an engine is going to be measured. Now, in this study, this is a lab experiment, right? So here we are going to have how many variables? We are going to have a variable temperature, we are going to have a variable pressure, we are going to have a variable speed, and we are going to have a variable mileage. Okay, so we have around 5 variables, right? So that's it. So now it is all n into n. We're just dealing with the numerical variables. So it's just simple. I have to use what? I have to just use the regression. And in this case, it's going to be a multiple regression. So it's not that like say when an engineer is going to do the analysis, his techniques are going to be different. And when a social science is going to do an analysis, his techniques are going to be different. It is just going to be the same techniques. The only thing is that the way he is going to collect the information, the data, that is going to be different. The statistical tools remain the same. So here in today's class, we have not just we have not focused more on how to collect the information. The focus was more on how to plan for the collection of information, and that is what we have done. Okay, so how the data comes is a different story. So we are not dealing with that. So it is not restricted to just one field; it is restricted to any research field. Next question.
Sir, you gave the example of age. Suppose
Yeah.
we want to ask age to somebody, then age, then underline, that is 36. So you gave that example. So the question was ratio means relationship between two variables, that is two value to another
No,
value.
it is
Then
not. It is
example of
not.
age 36. Can it
Yeah,
be a
I'll come
ratio?
to that. Okay, now this is something what is a textbook is thing. So ratio is not like say relationship between two variables. Ratio is basically the type of, because here we talked about the scales. Okay, we have not talked about the mathematical definition of a ratio. That is different. The mathematical definition of ratio is that we are going to have two variables and then we can calculate like say age of two students or maybe age and weight. There are two variables and we can calculate the ratio. That is a mathematical definition. The ratio scale what we are referred to over here is not that definition of, it is different from mathematics. It is basically the data for which we would be able to calculate the ratios, and that is going to be a numerical data.
Okay. So the next question is designation with payment grade comes under numerical or categorical?
Designation is a
With
separate
payment
variable.
grade. Huh.
No, this is not a single variable. Designation is a separate variable that is categorical. Payment grade is a separate variable that is again categorical.
Okay. Can the interval scale be categorical?
Interval scale is a numerical scale, but that is my observation that in India, okay, nine, most of them, I'm not taking the percentage, but with whomever I have interacted with the researchers, they don't differentiate between the interval scale and the ordinal scale, because in the research they would have used the ordinal scale, but while they do the analysis, they do the analysis which is applicable for the interval scale. So as such, it will not bring in much of variation in the analysis, but then the concept is wrong. So these are two different scales. So interval is always going to be numerical.
Numerical. Okay. So next question is how income will come under categorical if given under a range?
If
If given under a range.
I told you it is options, right? We are giving the text options. See, if I just ask you the income, what's your income? It becomes numerical. But then I'm asking, what is your income? Is it, so this what I'm speaking now, the option number one, is it less than 1 lakh? It is a statement. Okay, the option is in a statement, it's a text. Second option, is it in between 5 lakh to 10 lakh? So these are the text options, just like male, female. The options were given was a text option. Likewise, here the range are the text ranges. Okay, it's not numerical ranges. It is just a statement which I'm going to make. It's a statement. It's a subject to statement.
When ordinal are numbering and rankings, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. till 100, then in this case, ordinal isn't considered under ratio.
No, no. Ranking is like, say, for example, how do you? So you have to go back to the analysis now, right? So now we have used those 5 factors. If you paid attention for this lecture, right? So we had used 5 factors, like say safety and what I can say, safety I had used, and the price of the ticket and the schedule and the on time and so something like that, right? So when the ranks are going to be there, so ranks are the positions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, it's not continuous. So it is not a measurement. Rank are discrete. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when the analysis is going to be done, right, it is going to be also a discrete analysis. You can't have an analysis which can be interpreted as rank 1.7 or rank of 4.5. The ranks has to be either 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So when I'm going to analyze this, like say for example, I'm going to analyze for the safety. So if I have approached 50 respondents, so I'll just check over there how many of them they have given rank 1 for this particular safety, and then I'm going to count. Okay, so accordingly, like say for each of these variables, I'm going to count the frequencies and then I'm just going to report the frequencies over there. Yeah, next one.
So which measurement are required for factor analysis?
I told the answer. It is the numerical.
Okay.
All the variables has to be on the numerical variable. It should be common scale and the length of the scale. If it is like say all the variables, if you're using a 5-point Likert numerical scale, so sorry, a 5-point scale, so everything should be 5-point scale.
Can you explain the sampling errors which is to be permissible for data analysis?
Sampling error is a totally different field. For that, I have to go into sampling distributions. So sampling error, I exactly particularly not clear about this particular question. What the question is trying to ask, because sampling error is for the samples. I don't know whether he or she is wanting me to talk about, like say, from sampling error how to arrive at a sample size, something like that.
So the next question is
repeat the question. I think sir is asking, repeat the question. I mean, that's what I.
So you want me to repeat the question?
No, I don't want you to repeat the question. Okay. I was actually referring to that to the participant who has asked this question. What is the intention? What he exactly wants, he or she wants to know with regards to sampling error, because sampling error can be interpreted in different ways. If she is interested in arriving at a sample size, or is it that she is interested in taking a call on the hypothesis error? So there are a lot of linkages to it, and it's a very broad field for which this base is not going to be useful.
Okay. So we can go to the next question.
Okay, it's for sample size. Okay, so yeah, sample size. Okay, so we can. Okay, what I'll do is that anyway, you will be coming tomorrow also. About the sampling error and the sample size, I will just give a small example in tomorrow's session at the beginning. Okay, so how this scaling can be linked to sample size, and that I can do it for you.
Calculation of regression and original regression in SPSS. Can you please clarify this, sir? If not, now at least in tomorrow's class.
Yes, done.
Okay. Okay. Can we have hands-on session tomorrow? That is tomorrow's related question.
Yes, it's a screen sharing. It's a software.
Okay. I think we have covered all the questions, sir. We can go for the vote of thanks. We can conclude the session by vote of thanks. So I'm honored to have the opportunity to propose a vote of thanks. I would like to thank Dr. Sachin S. Kamble, sparing his valuable time and guiding all the researchers. The way of presentation of today's seminar was very much effective and interactive. You kept all the participants alert by asking questions during session. Understanding statistical language or words is a real struggle of any researcher, but you have given an appropriate and simple example to understand each and every concept perfectly. The way you explained categorical and numerical was extraordinary. The concluding part of this session was extremely good. I also thank the Director of ICSSR and the HOD of Department of Commerce. I must not forget to thank all the organizing committee members who have contributed minute to minute. I finally thank the enthusiastic participants for patient hearing and active participation. Thank you one and all. Tomorrow again, we will meet at 11 a.m. with the same Zoom link. Thank you so much.
Thank you. See you tomorrow, all of you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you all of you.